As we say so long to 2020, it's time to look back at the best horror films from this past year. Keep in mind, these are my opinions, and that I have not seen every single horror film released this year. So with all that said, let's see what made the top 10 best of list. Starting off our list is Anything for Jackson. The plot follows a bereaved Satanist couple who kidnap a pregnant woman so they can use an ancient spellbook to put their dead grandson's spirit into her unborn child, but end up summoning more than they bargained for. I was really surprised how much I enjoyed this film. This was genuinely a really fun film. This is due in large part to the cast, specifically Sheila McCarthy and Julian Richings, who play the married couple Audrey and Henry Walsh. They're so convincing as this couple, and despite them kidnapping this pregnant woman, they're still likable somehow. And that's not only a testament to the fantastic acting, it also illustrates how well written these characters, dialogue, and the overall story is put together. If you have Shudder, definitely give this one a watch. At number 9 is the Netflix original, His House. The film follows a refugee couple who make a harrowing escape from war-torn South Sudan, but then they struggle to adjust to their new life in an English town that has an evil lurking beneath the surface. His House not only works on a horror level, but also is a fantastic drama. The film tackles some heavy themes like modern immigration and living with one's trauma. I loved our two leads. They were both fantastic in this film. The slow yet methodical reveal that depicts the harrowing escape of our two main leads are effective and heart-wrenching. The film is beautifully shot, especially the scenes in which our leads are in this kind of dreamlike state. I can't emphasize enough how beautifully shot this film is, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what Remy Weeks does next. At number 8 is Impedigore. The film follows Maya and her best friend Dinny, who are trying to survive in a city without a family. She realized that she might inherit a property from her rich family, so Maya returns to the village with Dinny, and they're unaware of the danger that's waiting for them. Although I enjoyed Joko Anwar's previous film Satan's Slaves, I think Impedigore is a far superior film. Right from the get-go, the film gets under your skin, and it never really lets go. The sense of dread permeates this film. This Indonesian horror film is currently streaming on Shudder. At number 7 is the South Korean Netflix original, The Call. Two people live in different times. One lives in the present and the other lives in the past. One phone call connects the two, and their lives are changed irrevocably. This film has a really cool combination of horror and sci-fi fantasy. I found myself swept up in the story and absolutely loving this film from start to finish. And throughout that entire runtime, I was white-knuckling it. This film had me at the edge of my seat. At number 6 is the offbeat horror comedy, Come to Daddy. A man in his 30s travels to a remote cabin to reconnect with his estranged father. I was immediately sold on checking this film out as soon as I saw that Elijah Wood and Stephen McHattie were on the cast. On top of that, the director is Ant Timpson, who was a producer on a film that I absolutely love called Housebound. Come to Daddy has that same quirky, dark comedy vibe to it. There's also some brutal moments with some fantastic practical effects and gore. The dialogue is witty, the story threw me for a loop several times, it kept me guessing up until the end. If you're into quirky, dark horror comedies, Come to Daddy should definitely be at the top of your list. Capping off the top 5 is Color Out of Space. Based on the short story of the same name by H.P. Lovecraft and directed by Richard Stanley, the film tells the story of a secluded farm that is struck by a strange meteorite which has apocalyptic consequences for the family living there and possibly the world. The works by H.P. Lovecraft are difficult to translate to screen, And more often than not, H.P. Lovecraft films aren't very good. That's not the case with Color Out of Space. The slow descent into madness, the body horror, the brilliant colors, and the fantastic cast make this film one of my favorite H.P. Lovecraft adaptations. Of course, Nicolas Cage rocks, and this film makes me excited for the rest of Richard Stanley's H.P. Lovecraft trilogy. At number 4 is The Dark and the Wicked. On a secluded farm in a nondescript rural town, a man is slowly dying. His family gathers to mourn, and soon a darkness grows, marked by waking nightmares and a growing sense that something evil is taking over the family. After my first time watching The Dark and the Wicked, I could not stop thinking about it for days. I rewatched it again and ended up loving this film. This is a bleak film that explores grief and one's own mortality, along with the fear that comes with that. The film also has a very slow burn to it. There's no throwaway lines, there's no padding. Everything about this film is deliberate. Director Brian Bertino, who also directed the fantastic home invasion film The Strangers, has done an incredible job with this film, both in terms of the direction and the screenplay. I loved this cast and the dynamic between the brother and sister. Although brief, the scenes of violence are effective and shocking. The horror feels earned and there's no false jump scares. The Dark and the Wicked most definitely lives up to its name. At number 3 is The Invisible Man. When Cecilia's abusive ex takes his own life and leaves her his fortune, she suspects his death was a hoax. As a series of coincidences turn lethal, Cecilia works to prove that she is being hunted by someone nobody can see. The Invisible Man is a fun action horror film that kept me engaged and in suspense throughout the entire runtime. I felt that Elizabeth Moss was perfectly cast, and I loved the energetic direction by Leigh Whannell, who has taken everything he's learned from the superb Upgrade and has crafted a tightly woven and paced film that stands shoulder to shoulder next to its Universal classic. Taking the number 2 spot is The Lodge. A soon-to-be stepmom is snowed in with her fiance's 2 children at a remote holiday village. Just as relations begin to thaw between the trio, some strange and frightening events take place. The Lodge genuinely unsettled me and stuck with me for days after I watched it. The last time I felt like that after I watched a horror film was Hereditary. This film stressed me out from beginning to end, and Riley Keough's performance is incredible. I also have to mention that the 2 child actors are also fantastic. I felt genuinely unnerved by the ending, and the film stuck with me for days after. And finally, at number 1 is Brandon Cronenberg's Possessor. The film follows an agent who works for a secretive organization that uses brain implant technology to inhabit other people's bodies, ultimately driving them to commit assassinations for high-paying clients. Possessor is a mean-spirited sci-fi body horror film that I absolutely love. I've seen this film 3 times as of recording this video, and every single time the film gets better with every watch. The cast, led by Andrea Riseborough and Christopher Abbott, are fantastic. Brandon Cronenberg's direction is effortless and is able to construct these truly terrifying hallucinatory nightmares. The effects in this film are mind-blowing, and the use of color is gorgeous. From beginning to end, Possessor never lets up. I absolutely adore this film, which is why it's my number 1 film of the year. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to support the channel even more, get your name in the opening credits, as well as getting some other awesome perks, become a Patreon today. Link is down in the description below. Thank you so much for coming by, and I'll see you guys on the next video.